Welcome to the yoga session. Let's use the first couple of minutes grounding and centering, maybe clearing the mind from any expectations of what the session will bring, will challenge your body, and maybe even challenge your mind, because we will work on some classic asanas with a little bit different approach, challenging the body to maintain the balance, to sustain some instability. The practice that we do once in a while, so you might find that you're improving in this situation when you suddenly approaching unstable surface that support your foot and then support the full body. We'll take a couple of inhalations in, exhalation out, trying to relax the facial muscles, trying to relax the shoulders, neck. You can scan down through the arms, through the spine, checking your hips, knees and ankles. If you would like to have your own personal intention for the practice, you're more than welcome to think of the word or phrase. And if you have your eyes closed, I'm inviting you to open them. Let's release both legs and extend them. I'll just go a couple of flexed point position for the ankles. After that, start circular movement, one direction first, and then the other direction. And then welcome to experiment with a little bit of coordination to take the toes out, toes in. So one foot goes one direction, the other goes other direction, and then change. And then just sit and just try to move your toes, whatever available. Just check how you can control the movements, flexing and extending the toes. If you can do it one by one, probably you can separate the big toe and the other four toes, maybe not. Just check how that's moving. And then we'll bend the left knee, so sit comfortably, maybe with some support, like I have a blanket under my hips. So bend your left knee and then bring the right leg in front. Hug your right thigh to lift your left foot off the floor. And I'm inviting you to just kind of lock your knee, so your knee stays in the straight position. Just go a couple of times with extending and flexing the knee. So let's check how your knee functioned this morning. And you would just remind yourself that knee is the joint that only have this direction, flexion and extension. There's no rotation in the knee, while we already checked that ankle has rotation. So let us keep the knee really locked and thigh really locked, and try to move your foot from side to side. So probably you have like a 45-degree to move your foot, and just check how the shin bone that attached to the knee slightly moving, but it's not really moving in the knee. So that's something that we need to understand in our anatomy of the leg, that while the ankle have the circular ability to move, shin bone attached to the knee where it doesn't have much mobility, and that's how we can protect the knee, by bringing the ankle stability and strength. And let us do the same with the other leg. So bring the right ankle on the floor, hug your left thigh, and lock your knee, and then just move the foot from side to side. So I'm finding that my left foot doesn't really go much to the left. It really, my shin bone is really locked in the knee attachment, so I have much less stability. So if I want to go to the left, I feel like I need to move my hip. So something that I want you to discover, how the ankle movement through the knee go into your hip. And you're welcome to go also some circular movement, just to see how maybe not, maybe you really don't have much feeling in your knee through the attachment of the shin bone. Okay, and let us come off the support. If you had one, come to the back of your mat. So let us move a little bit the hip. Go to a 90-90 position with your foot flexed, and go a couple of times from one side to another side. So here, what's happening? We now having the knee locked, right, and we are rotating the hip. So connecting ankle through the knee to the hip, but initiating movement in the hip. And this is only the warm-up, so start really light and then progress in control. So you don't force yourself into something that uncomfortable. And as you progress all the way to the front of the mat, that's where we will stop. So usually when we move 90-90, we are moving forward a bit. So most of us are already on the front of the mat, so let us just cross the ankles and come into the tabletop position. You can move back to the center of your mat. Set your hands shoulder width apart, and let us move the spine a little bit as a warm up, as we will be moving, going into fold forward, soon twists and some back bends. So allow yourself to explore the spine here, the movement really slow, connect the breath to the movement of the spine. Let's finish the last two here. Make sure you're involving the movements of the head as well. And then as you finished your second one, let us step the right foot forward into lunge. Here you're welcome to use the block for some support. And this lunge will be to compress the ankle, to compress the knee. So you're moving the knee, going forward. If you like to check, you might build the pyramid with two blocks in front of your knee. So your knee is touching the block, your heel is on the floor, and what you measure here, this is actual measurement of the ankle mobility. What is the distance between your big toe and the block? So for me, it's close to 2 inches. You can test it if you like. Yes, I know my blocks are black, so you don't really have a kind of contrast here, but my knee is touching the block. Knee is one on the top of the other, and this distance here between the block and the foot it's official checking in like measurements of the ankle mobility. So we're compressing the ankle. Where you can have a limitation is your knee. So don't compress your knee more than you feel comfortable. And I just showed you. So that's how you can maybe test improvement of the ankle mobility. You feel a lot of stretch in the calf muscle and some stretch on the left hip as well. And then use the blocks and move the hips back and adjust the foot to be flexed and allow yourself a gentle stretch of the hamstring here. And as you're holding, let us move the toe from side to side. And you're noticing that I'm giving you cue to move the toe, but actual movement is in the hip. So your hip is moving from internal to external rotation, and that's, we already discussed earlier, is the nature of the knee joint. So lower leg bones and upper leg bones are connected, and we just move it a little bit here. Okay, and let us change. So stepping the left foot forward, moving the right knee back as far as you can, progressing with the knee forward. Again, if you're curious of what is the distance, you can create this pyramid and check if your left ankle has the same mobility as your right ankle if you did that before. It looks like my left is a little bit less in a flexion. It looks like visually I didn't measure, but visually it looks like it's a little bit less distance between the big toe and the block. So something that you might be curious to know, curious to measure. So feel a bit of a stretch in the right hip, comfortable flexion of the knee, but also it's good to flex the knee a little bit to the maximum to work on that range as well, and then press the hips back, flex the left foot. So allow first just a hamstring stretch. So flex the foot as much as you can, and then we will exercise again this movement of the foot from side to side, noticing how we feel in the hip in this movement. So slight internal and external rotation of the hip. Yes, and let us release the legs. You can have your blocks on the side of your mat, and let us come into the downward dog. So setting the feet hip distance, you can walk your dog. So here is the first test of your ankle flexion in the actual yoga asana, right? Very often we have a trouble to get a downward dog because our ankles not really loving this extreme flexion, and you shouldn't worry about putting your heels down to the floor. So if your limitations are in ankles, bend your knees and focus more on your spinal elongation rather than straight legs. Shake your head and then look forward and walk to the front of the mat. Set your feet hip distance, hand here for the breath, and then very slowly let's roll up into standing position. Exhale. So we are in standing position, and let us work on the strength of the foot. So I'm inviting you to get to the tippy toes and hold as high as you can. Maybe count for 5 and then come down. So we're losing balance here because we have a tendency to collapse to the pinkies. So focus on pressing of a big toe, and this way you are activating muscles of the arches of the feet. And let's do it again. Okay, again my head is cut on my video here, so if you're gonna practice this later, I'm sorry, I'm gonna leave it as is. And hold here. Let's come to the tippy toes. Engage your glutes. So here is the first connection of the ankle stability and the glute strength. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come down. Shake your legs. And if you moved from the top of the mat like I did, return back the top of the mat, take your arms on the sides of the hips, and let's go for the first flow to warm up. With inhale, lift your arms up, bring the palms together, exhale, folding forward, release the head. Let's step the left foot back and drop the left knee down to the floor. Untug the toes. This time you want to have your shin 90 degree. Press your left hip forward. So stretching here of the hip flexors. Bring your hands to the right knee. Lift your gaze up. Let's bring the hands elbow to elbow behind the chest and come in a little bit of the back bend here. We're emphasizing the stretch on the left side of the body. Then let's bring the hands down to the floor, tuck the left toes, and step into downward dog. Exhale. Again, you're welcome to still walk your dog. We're still in a warm-up, so see if your ankles respond better. And I continue to press the mat away to elongate the spine. Let's drop the knees down to the floor and step the left foot forward. Again, 90 degree of the shin, pressing the hip forward. Then bring your hands to the left knee. Find your comfortable progression with the right hip forward. And then bring your elbow to elbow position. Open the chest up. Emphasize a little bit more of a stretch of the right hip, and then let us bring the hands to the floor, tuck the right toes and step into the downward dog. Exhale, lengthening here, and then look forward and walk to the front of the mat. Set your feet hip distance, hand here, and then bring your hands just above the knees, come into the hip hinge, and then bring the body weight to the heels and come into the chair pose. Maintain neutral spine, so try not to exaggerate the extension of the lower back. Work more of the core muscles, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From the heels, stretch yourself up into standing. Exhale, bring the arms on the sides of the hips. Catch your breath if you need it. Let's flow again. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, folding forward all the way down to the floor. Release the head. Then let's step the left foot back, and this time it's a high lunge. Make sure the right knee is above the right heel and lift the torso up. And take a moment here, first to find the center, ground through both feet, and then let's move the body weight to the right foot. So you coming forward, feel the knee. So let all your body weight in the right quad, and then unload the quad, finding the back leg. Again, move forward. It should be very, very hard, very uncomfortable on the knee and quad, and then move the left heel back. Let's do it one more time. Move forward. So you're barely on the top of your big toe of the back leg. Move it back. Again, find your grounding. Your quad is a bit in the burden right now, but you still need to find right now here on the center the hamstring of the left leg. Let's release the legs, bring the hands to the floor, and step the right foot back. You can even shake the right leg, take it to the air, and bend the knee a couple of times. Relax your quad here, and then come into the downward dog. Exhale. We're gonna step the right foot closer to the midline and step the left foot forward into lunge. We have the same sequence on the left leg. So lifting yourself up in the torso and finding first equal grounding, and then move the body forward. So load your left quad and then unload, finding the back leg for support. Move it forward as far as you can, and then unload again. One more time, move forward, and then move it back, hold here, finding the back leg, really feeling your hamstring helping your front thigh. And then bring the hands to the floor, step into downward dog. Exhale, long spine, shake your head, catch your breath. On next inhale, look forward, walk to the front of the mat. Set your feet hip distance, hand here, then reach into the hip hinge and then into the chair pose, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From the heels, lift yourself up and then exhale, bring the arms on both sides of the hips. Okay, let's continue to challenge our ankles and finding where we find instability. So you will need this folded blanket. It could be block, it could be bolster. So folded blanket, it's 2-3 inches off the floor. So it has to be pretty high, 2-3 inches. And we're going to step the right foot on the support and then step the left foot into the lunge. So it has to be, you start feeling how your ankle now unstable, right? So you finding that to maintain the balance, you need to use your back leg, you need to use your core, you need to use your inner thigh to stabilize the knee. And we're going to challenge even more. We're going to move the knee in and out, in and out, and try to stay really stable in your torso, really stable in the back leg. So unloading your knee a little bit in controlled way. That's exactly what I was talking in the beginning of the practice. Ankle is moving on the soft surface, right? And we basically moving the hip, but it comes through the knee joint and we're loading medial ligament, loading lateral ligament. But we're doing this mindfully, we're doing this controlled. And come back to the center, hold the balance, and let's change. So shake your legs, step your left foot on the support, move your right foot back. If you're doing this on the bolster, it will be even more challenging because it's higher. Bend your knee, first find your balance, find your back leg, engage your core, and we're going to be doing the same thing. Moving the knee in and out. You can go all the way to the outer edges of the foot here and noticing how knee remains into hinge position, hip is going into slight internal and external rotation, and ankle here goes into lateral and medial flexion here. Yes, and all control comes from the core, from the back glute. And stop, hold the balance, and let's release. Shake your legs. We will release the blanket for now. Come to the front of the mat. And let's go to next flow. With inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, folding forward into the deep passive fold. Step your left foot back into lunge and lift your torso up. So now let us bring the two variations together. So you're not overloading your front quad, you're using your back leg. And you're controlling the knees straight forward. You're engaging the inner thigh to control the knee. And here we come to traditional warrior one. Holding the warrior one, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the hands to the floor and step into downward dog. Exhale. Take an additional exhale, floating into plank and then dropping the knees down to the floor, coming all the way down. Set your hands on the sides of the rib cage and lift your chest off the floor into very, very moderate back bend. Keep your legs strong here. On exhale, press the floor. Maybe come into child pose to stretch the lower back, so a contour pose for the cobra position. Exhale here. On inhale, when you're ready, tuck your toes and come into downward dog. Exhale. Taking another exhale and then stepping the right foot closer to the midline. Stepping the left foot into a nice and wide lunge. Maintaining knee above the heel. Lifting the torso up. Exhale. Let us again check that we're not having too much weight on the front leg. We're using the back leg. Here's the mobility of the back ankle. Comes on place. You controlling the knee with the inner thigh, so knee straight forward, and then taking the arms up, holding 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the hands to the floor. Step into downward dog. Exhale. On next inhale, floating into plank, dropping the knees and finding the prone position on the belly. Having the hands on the sides of the rib cage, roll the shoulders back, strong legs, lift the chest up. You don't need to come high. Feel that all the back muscles are working, and then press yourself into the child pose, rounding the spine. This is the active child pose. You're walking the fingers away from the shoulders. Exhale, and then tuck your toes and come into the downward dog. Long spine. Let's hold this downward dog for additional 3 exhales. And check how your ankles feel. You can play here by lifting the heels off and then pressing the heels down. If you need to bend your knees, do so. On next inhale, look forward. Walk to the front of the mat. Bring your hands to the shins. Lift the chest halfway. Bring your hands to the hips this time and lift your torso a little bit high. So you're in a chair pose here, but maybe your torso in a little bit higher position. And then bring the body weight to your toes and lift your heels high like you sit on the high chair. Engage your core. Hold 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And see if you can tippy toes come into standing mountain pose. Engage the glutes to hold the balance. Press the big toe. Hold. And release. Shake your legs. Great. So come into the position with the feet hip distance, and let us just roll the toes to the outer edges. You know this exercise, we will be doing the wrong squats, okay? So first just prep your ankles. That's the sprained ankles movements, right? That's how we injure in ankles. And then just stay on the outer edges of the ankles, and let's go into squat and bounce here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come up and then release the feet. Shake them. For next one, we need to step a little bit wider than hip distance, and this time we will practice rotating to the inner edges of the feet. So you noticing that you need to initiate the actual movement in the hip, right? So hip comes into internal rotation, and you're stopping with the knees. You're not touching knee to the knee, just stopping when the thighs are parallel. And then let us come and hold this position, and we're gonna go into squats. Go in here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and coming up. And you definitely have to feel your inner thigh. Shake your legs, catch your breath, and let's this time come into the wide squat. Toes are this time 45 degree. Try to get your squat, assume a squat with the knees above the heels. So don't have your heels closer than your knees. You want to have your shins perpendicular to the floor. Make sure you are not compensating your hip maybe limitation with your lower back. You should be in a neutral position here, and let's bounce. You can hold the arms in front, bounce for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come up. Let us just stretch the back of the legs, turn the heels out, fold forward. You may be reaching the floor, maybe you're using the blocks. Move from one foot to another, bending the knees here, just releasing the hamstrings, releasing the back of the legs after the squatting, and then come all the way up again, still in the wide leg position, and turning the toes out again, and this time coming to the right side as low as you can, and see if you can lift your left toe. Try not to collapse with the torso to the right, stay on the center. So feel what happened in the inner thigh, how you're controlling the knee. Come up, rest. And let's go to the other side. Try to keep your heel under the knee. Go to the left side, hold here as low as you can. Maybe lifting the other toe if it's possible. If it's not, keep it on the floor. Feel your inner thigh working. Control the core and release. We have 2 more times to come to the right. Go as low as you can. Holding here. Control that the knee is the hinge. So the toe and knee is facing the same direction. Come up. Going to the left. Using the core strength. Coming up. Last time going to the right. So make sure your knee is not collapsing in. This is too much for the medial ligament. Find your inner thigh. And up. And go to the left. Control this alignment. Toe and knee goes exactly to the same direction. Inner thigh controlling the knee. Coming up. And then go toes, heels, toes, heels. Come to the standing pose. Shake your legs. And let's walk to the front of the mat. So having the moment here to catch in the breath. I'm a little bit out of breath, practicing and talking at the same time. So when you're ready, let's go to the flow. Inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, folding forward into passive fold. Stepping the left foot back, really wide lunge. Drop the left heel down to the floor. Walk your hands toward the left edge of the mat. Maybe adjust the stance even wider. Keep your front knee 90 degree. Lift your torso up so you're in a warrior 2 legs. And in a warrior 2 legs, you know how to control the knee. So the knee is 90 degree. Take your arms parallel to the floor. And then when you're ready, bring your gaze to the right palm. Holding here. Feel your inner thigh of the right leg working. Feel your left glute and left hamstring is working to support the position. Reaching with the arms to the both directions equally. Shoulders relax. Neutral spine as much as you can control it here. Making a huge circle with the left arm. Stepping into plank this time. Can you move into plank directly from the warrior 2 legs? Drop the knees down. Exhale, come down to the floor. Set your hands on the sides of the rib cage, point toes, a gentle cobra. Just to work a little bit on the back, muscle strength, and then press yourself into the downward dog this time right away. Exhale. long spine, press the heels, elongate. Bring your right foot closer to the midline and step the left foot forward. So try to find the widest lunge. Drop the right heel down to the floor. Walk your hands to the right edge of the mat. Lift your torso up. Reset your front knee. It has to be 90 degrees. Use your glutes, use your core to maintain the torso over the hips. Take your arms equally, stretching them equally to the both direction. When you're ready, bring your gaze to the middle left finger. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Making a huge circle with the right arm and stepping into the downward dog. Exhale. On next inhale, floating into plank. Dropping the knees down. Exhale, come all the way to the floor. Set your hands if needed. Strong legs. Come to the baby cobra. Exhale. Elbows close to the rib cage. Tuck your toes. Exhale, come into the downward dog. Long spine. On next inhale, look forward and walk to the front of the mat. Set your feet hip distance. Bring your hands on the thighs, lift your chest up, and then from this position, unfold all the way into the mountain pose. Let's pause here in a mountain pose. Use the glutes to stabilize your pelvis. Check how you're distributing the weight on your feet. Are you on the toes? Are you on the heels? Are you on the outer edges, inner edges? Try to press the big toe and the heel, activating the arches of the feet. And then exhale, bring the arms on the sides of the hips. Let us again take our support. So it could be also 2 blocks. So if you think that you maybe don't have enough height of your folded blanket, you can use the 2 blocks as well, as we'll practice the balance pose. So it could be a soft, it's more challenging if it's a blanket, but it could be a soft block as well. So we are stepping on the blanket, and for the first one, I want you just to lift your left leg and play with collapsing to the right hip and then engaging the glute and set the right leg straight. So collapsing without use of the muscles of the right leg, and then use the glute and feel the difference. So when what I want you to feel, when you're collapsing here, you might feel load, extra load on your knee, right? Nothing support the knee. And when you engage the glute and reach up, your knee is now locked with the muscle of the leg. So if you have unstable ankle, it's still, you still have protection for your knee. I hope you found in that. Yes? No? Give me a sign. So relax here and then glute engage. So let us shake the leg and do it on the left. So step the left foot and don't really think of the muscular engagement. Just lift your right leg, collapse to the left hip, and then find the stable hip. Collapse to the left hip and find stable hip by engaging the glute. Collapse and find a stable hip. I hope you're finding the difference, and your main difference you should feel in your knee. So here is like you collapse into the knee, and here knee is protected. So this is the combination that we need to work on for the uneven surfaces. So let us step the right foot to the blanket or blocks, whatever you use. And before we're going to lift the left leg, I want you to engage the glute, really stabilize the whole right leg. Stabilize, engage your core muscles, and then lift your left knee off the floor. You can keep it flexed. So we're working here on the hip flexors. Take your arms wide. Hold. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, keep focusing on the glute, and 1, release. So shake your legs and let us step on the blanket again. So before we're lifting the right leg, we will engage the left glute. We engage all the muscles that stabilizing the knee, engaging the core, and then lifting the right leg off the floor, flexing the foot. And when you're ready, take your arms wide. And hold. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. So I know we are practicing this very often, so I would like to challenge you more. So we will be coming, I'm going to be with my side, we will be moving now. So we will be, because usually in real life we're not standing still, right? We are movers. So we need to train the body to sustain uneven surface in movement. So we will be with the right foot on the blanket, and we will be moving knee from the side into the extension. From flexion to extension. I let you experiment on your own how much you folding forward. You can have here a bit of a balance. You can hold this a little bit on the balance. So it's up to you how to practice. So go, and I want you to do at least 5 slow movements of the knee up, leg back. This will be 1. Knee up, leg back. Check what's happening in your standing leg. Continue on your own. I want to observe you. You want to control your knee. You want to control your foot. You want to press the big toe of the support foot to get the balance. Yes, so take your time. You don't have to go high with the leg. It could be just here, as long as you're focusing of how you're stabilizing the right ankle and right hip. What do you need to feel yourself balance? And if you're done with 5, probably you did, shake your legs, shake it from your mind, and let's go to the left. So bring the left foot to the to our uneven, soft support, and lift your right knee up, flex the foot, and then with a softness in the standing leg knee, reach back. Have a bit of a hold. Lift the knee again. You don't need to go as high backward as I go. You don't need to fold forward with the torso as I show. It could be very moderate. And you want to do 5 moves. It could be end range with full extension and with full flexion of the knee. It could be something in between. And also you're practicing that 5 times. And then we'll shake the legs. Great. So let us come to the front of the mat again. Taking the moment here. You should feel your hips right now. You should feel how the hips are alive, they're breathing. You should feel how you are actually creating your balance and standing pose from your strong legs. Let's with inhale, lift your arms up. Hinging from the hips, exhale, folding forward, releasing the head down to the floor. Let's step right back into the downward dog. Exhale, long spine. And then step your foot somewhere in between your hands and feet. So right foot steps halfway. Right, you move your hands closer to your toes. You're lifting the left leg off the floor, and you're trying to lift the torso off the floor. Holding here, your hips are square. Try not to go up to your toe. Distribute the weight equally on the feet. Hold. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the hands on the floor. Step the left foot down. Step the back foot into the downward dog. Exhale. On next inhale, step your left foot halfway. Bring your hands a little bit closer to the toes. Lift the right leg off the floor and start lifting the torso here. Feel how the hip sits above the heel. Your body weight distributed equally on your left foot. Use your back leg. Flex the foot. And that's probably already 3 if you're there with me. 2. And 1. Bring the hands on the floor. Step into downward dog. Exhale. And then let's drop the knees down to the floor and come into the child pose. Catch the breath. Exhale. Next one, we will practice the pigeon pose. And if you use bolster, you're welcome to use bolster. I am rolling my blanket into kind of a bolster as we will come into pigeon over the bolster. So step your right foot in front of your bolster. Get your right knee on the floor. So a bolster is supporting your right hip somewhere. Do your best to set your ankle as parallel to the front edge of the mat as possible and the back leg straight. So sit tall for a bit. So I'm waiting until everybody here. So try not, your best way not to collapse to the right hip, but lifting yourself and squaring the hips to the front, whatever is available for you. And then when you're ready, let us come to the forearms. And let's hold the forearms, or maybe some of you having a very flexible hips and you can go all the way down to the floor. And we'll hold this position for the full minute. Once in a while, check your sensation in the hip. Check your sensation in the opposite shoulder. So if we're working on the right hip, it's your left shoulder that may be compensating that. So slide your forearm and try to relax your left shoulder. Come in here, last 5 breaths. Help yourself to lift the torso off and let us come to the right side. Release your left leg to the front and shake the legs. And when you're ready, we'll practice the other side. So bending your left knee, keeping the ankle flexed, sending the right leg all the way back and trying to set your hips square to the front. You can stay high if you need to. Make sure you're controlling your knee so the left knee is safe when the right foot is flexed. And you will fold forward. And we will hold this position for another minute. Have it here, last 5 breaths. You will then lift the torso up, and we again bring the legs to the front. You can come sitting on the mat here, shaking your legs. And we'll practice the shoelace pose. I will remind you. So you're going to be crossing the right leg in front of the left, or you can start on the back, crossing the right leg in front of the left, and then you're trying to reach to the ankles, keeping knee aligned with the center of your body, reaching to ankles away. You can not, all of you can reach your ankles, so just bring knee inside the knee. You can hold the knee, you can reach to your shins, you can reach to your feet. If you can, try to keep your shoulders and hips aligned on the floor as square as possible. You feel a lot of stretch around on the back of your right hip. Relax your shoulders. So now to focus on holding the legs. Hold where your shoulders are relaxed, where you can reach. And direct your exhale to this area of stretch around the right hip. We'll hold in that for a minute. Having a last exhale here. Let's lift the legs and shake them in the air. And then we'll go other side. So crossing the left leg in front of the right. Trying to keep knee inside the knee. You might find that this is much more challenging for you. For me, it's definitely much challenging. It's not symmetrical at all. My right hip is not allowing me to go where my right hip allows me. So reach to ankles or feet, or just hold the knees pressing toward the chest. Try to be symmetrical in your torso. Your upper back should be grounded through 4 corners, and hold here for the minute. Having the last 5 breaths here. And let's release the ankles and shake the legs. You can bend your knees, you can circle your ankles, and connect to those lower limbs joints one more time. Let them know that you take care of them, because they take care of your balance, of your walking, of your movements. And then let's bring the feet down to the floor. If you feel you would like to release your lower back, we can bring your feet into the width of the mat distance, and just windshield the knees from side to side. Just releasing the lower back maybe a little bit from the hip opening that we worked in the end of the practice today. And then when you're ready, reset your spine on the midline, extend your legs, let your toes fall apart, Reset your arms on the sides of the hips. Gently close your eyes. Let's take a couple of exhales to ground the body in Shavasana. And as we will be holding for the several minutes, just keep observing sensations that are rising, especially from the hips right now, because that's the area that we targeted on the very end. But then from the hips, go all the way toward your toes and connect to their leg muscles, joint. Notice sensations that are rising from there. And at the same time, make sure that your shoulders are not compensating any hard work that we put the hips on for the last section of the practice. Try not to allow your mind to leave the practice yet. Stay in a calm and steady observation of the body in stillness. Allow yourself, train your mind to be still. Train your mind to observe the moment. And then we'll add the movements, toes, fingers, wrists and ankles again, bending the knees, maybe bringing knees to your chest, hugging them and rocking from side to side. And finding the way to drop the knees to either side, and with the help of the hand come into seated position. Come into cross-leg position. Rearrange your ankles. See if you maybe feel a little bit more space in your hips to be more comfortable in the cross-leg position. Bring your hands to the knees and first just allow yourself to reach up through the crown of the head. And then bring your hands in front of the heart. Take a moment to thank yourself for being able to practice. Thank yourself for being able to challenge your mind and body for inconvenient positions, inconvenient asanas, variations that we have practiced today. Take a positive vibe from this practice to be a guide for the rest of the day. Namaste.